I mentioned in the last conversation that I'm using the YouTube algorithm and the Tana community or Tana market as a method for identifying my market for the second stage of my business, which is going to be focused around productization of business. And here I have a simple visualization to represent what I'm trying to achieve. If you're familiar with core sampling, you take a giant cylinder and you shove it deep into the ice or the ground or whatever. You take that cylinder and then you bring up what was inside the cylinder. And this right here is that cylinder on its side, essentially. I'm using this first stage of my business as kind of a core sample for what is likely to represent the market for the second stage of my business. I am distinguishing three different levels of defining my eventual market. The first level is tool-based. So I picked Tana. The first iteration of my market definition is people who use Tana. Now, using that kind of definition for a market based on a tool, that's very narrow. Any organizing principles are unique just to that product. So it's not the best definition of a market for anything besides that product, really. Also, the narrowness and how it's organized around another product makes it noisy. And there's a critical dependence on an external factor, which is, for me, Tana. But you can go deep on an existing market. So that's what this represents here. This is a deep cross-section of the Tana market. I don't have this level of understanding yet, but imagine that I do. So this is a cross-section of the Tana market that over time I will have access to people who take my courses and everything. So there's going to be several different categories. You see there's this dark brown, kind of a beige, there's a green, this blackish color, purple. And when you look at those things, there's not necessarily any wrong answer to how you interpret them. No, actually, let me rephrase that. There's no right way to do it, but there are so many wrong ways. And I think a common pitfall when people look at the spread of an audience or a market and who makes up what percentage in what way, there's an automatic default to several different possibilities. One is like, okay, this purple, for instance, that's obviously the biggest part of the audience. So we should go with that. But that may not be the market that works best for what you want to do, even though that's the biggest one. You want the customers to mostly be in the future based on where your product is going. And so you can get stuck in this local maximum that you can make some early gains, but then you just kind of max out pretty early on. And this is one of the ways that that can happen. As far as my business, like I said, I'm starting out with a tool-based definition, which is just limiting it to Tana. But then, what do each of these colors represent? The next stage for me, the next level of market definition is going to be role-based, loosely speaking. For instance, maybe these green ones are startup founders. Maybe the purple ones are product managers. And the dark browns are developers, etc., etc. So I will take that information to determine, based on my initial sampling of Tana users, which I'm picking because they're going to be high technology, very avant-garde thinkers. They're more likely to be systems thinkers. There's a bunch of assumptions that I have why I'm picking Tana as the initial tool for my core sample. But then I'll see, okay, who is represented as the largest amount? Are there any clusters of roles that maybe are similar? Okay. And now I'm starting to hint at what the next level will be. Okay. So there's tool-based, role-based, and then there's an abstract understanding of your user, of your market, your customer base. So I got Tana for these reasons, these assumptions. I've got these roles. Now, maybe I realize there seems to be a real relationship between certain roles, and it's product managers who do X. It's developers who think like a Y. And it's designers, but only when they're in stage Z of their career. So you notice those things. And is there anything that connects all of those? Well, yeah, they all tend to work in industry A, or they all seem to have psychological profile B, or they all blah, blah, blah. If you arrive at 2, 3, or 4 of those, and you find what the overlap of those are, you can arrive at a very targeted and a very high action to benefit ratio, because it's simultaneously very difficult to discover without going through these processes of understanding who your market is. You can't even really define it. For instance, I think I have an idea who my target market will be. But even if I'm 100% right now, I'm not sure how to define it. I don't know what words to use without a complex combination of roles and tools and processes and ifs, ands, and buts. Once you go through the process of discovering who your market is, your market will give you your definition. And when they give you the definition for themselves, that also tells you how to speak with your market, which helps you expand your market and reach more potential customers and helps you build a better product, etc., etc., etc.